Welcome to Center of Light. Tonight is part 2, Dream Workstation. So tonight is Center of Light download. The first installment was titled, one moment, I got to put some music on. I need that music. I need that feel. The first installment for Dream Workstation was titled Center of Light Reboot. We have to reboot ourselves. Lots has happened since you've been born, hasn't it? Right, wrong, in, out, up, down, good, bad, hot, cold. It's just a bunch of stuff. So who is this being? You're not the stuff. Hence the reboot. Who is the being that's experiencing all of these things until present day? Me, you, we. And if you were me, you would know what it's like to be me, and vice versa. So we got to reboot. That was the last installment. You could find that here on Facebook. Scroll down about that far. Or if you're on YouTube, go to YouTube. Why not go to my YouTube page and subscribe? Helps me do lots of things every time people chime in. So thank you. But tonight is Center of Light download. You will be downloading. That is no joke. The next installment, which will be either tomorrow or the night after, is going to be titled Center of Light Upgrade. No, excuse me, Execute. I have a phenomenal teacher. Everyone that's been watching me lately knows that I'm a big fan of this teacher I just recently learned about by the name of Shunyamurti. Wow. You want to go on a spiritual excursion by sitting in your chair, lying in your bed with your phone, watching this presentation? Stick around. It'll last 30 minutes. It'll probably be the best 30 minutes of your life and the recent most often. No joke. He'll take you to that place beyond the static and the noise. Am I awake? Yes, I am. Am I sure? No, I'm not. What is the difference between dream and awake? Are they the same? I bet they are. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Dana Kelly, everyone on Facebook so far as well. Trisha, Rena, Angie, Kim Gary. More people are here, but they don't like coming into the room. That's okay. Welcome. I'm making a couple of adjustments. I'm getting back. I just had some software issues, so I got to get back into my groove. Am I asleep? Am I awake? That's the question. Give me a moment. I'm trying to get back into my groove. Here we go. And let me see if this works. I'm a tech guy. I love techie stuff. It's just part of what I love doing. And when things go awry, because everything is so technological, they go awry in a very serious way. So tonight is Center of Light download. Being plugged into something which is higher than we are. Source, consciousness, love, creator, God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever idea that you have that helps you to lift. Stand on that stair. Stand on that ladder. Jacob, move up. The game is on. It's always been on. Are you in the game? Seriously, are you in the game? So, am I awake? Yes. Am I sure? No, I'm not. What this does, it opens up the gate to a greater capacity of consciousness. Sadhguru says, when you lay your head down at night, I'm a paraphrase, when you lay your head down at night, instead of falling asleep and becoming aware sometime in the middle of the morning, if you can fall asleep and stay with yourself, your real self, there's no blackout phase. So there's just a transition of one experience to another, which is the infinite moment. The blackouts can be seen as reincarnation. Blackouts, meaning I'm blacked out. There's nothing. I'm going unconscious. So, as above, so below, analogously, it's the same, always so. It's the same thing. So, Sadhguru says if you can stay conscious when you lay your head down and you gradate into the dream world, you will have so much grace given to you by yourself when you pass away from this physical awake yet sleeping reality to the heavenly realm. Because just like on earth when we go to sleep, when often we are more awake, when we wake up in the morning we feel that tug, that pull that brings us back to what we call reality, and you go on and you get your coffee. That pull that pulls you out of what we call a sleep. But when we pass, the same exact thing happens, but on multiple levels to a greater capacity of feeling, expression, experience, wow, bang, buck, awness. So when we perfect one, it's the same principle that applies to when you pass. I'm going back into reality, so I'm coming out of this sleep. But tonight is Shunyamurti is going to talk about. Let me find the title of this. This is delicious. It's called Life is a Dream to Redream. Do you think you're awake? To the level, here you go. Here's your barometer, a measurement stick for awake. However much constant joy that you have without unbroken flow, because that which breaks the flow would be the fear, the dark, the sleep, the unconsciousness. So when we get good at smoothing all of this consciousness of ours out with all the other consciousnesses that we actually are, the more joy you have consistently should be your barometer of whether you feel that you are asleep or awake. Because can you take joy with you into your dreamscape? I do. Hence, I have higher level experiences. And I'm sure you do as well. But are you sitting at your center of light download dream workstation? Do you find yourself living in some sort of workstation, a spiritual office that you've created in your mind's eye or your heart, an actual physical computer workstation? That's exactly what mine is. Do you find yourself living in a place where you call home your office, where you launch all of your affairs from? Are you having a love affair with life and everyone in it? See what happens when you become this kind of integrated being? You begin to live consciously in the dream. Are you ready, player one? So, what is truly awake and what is truly a dream? Have you ever had one of those actual days when things were just horrible and they sucked out of the wazoo? And one night, opposite, when you have a dream, it's so joyful and peaceful. You hang out with deceased loved ones and you have an experience with something beyond your understanding that just made you wake up in the morning and feel like magic dripped all over you. So which one is real? Which one is an illusion? Maybe they all are an illusion. Maybe there's nothing that is real at all except the self that is experiencing stuff, things, creation. What are you creating? Nightmares? Or are you dreaming consciously, having dreams about your life, about yourself, regardless of what anyone thinks? Even if it's for the joy of doing it, don't worry about the outcome. The outcome is the dream. The joy of doing it is the dream. See? Pun intended. So find something you love, get in it. Dive in head first, turn up the gas, turn up the fire, hammer on the pedal. I understand goals. I get it. It has a purpose. Don't get lost in it, because then you lose the purpose in sight and it gets noisy. And then you lose the reason, the very reason why you wanted to do it in the first place, for the sheer joy of it. Hello, Marina. Hello, Kelly Bird. I'm going to take a short pause. Something say take a short pause. I want to collect myself. I had all that tech stuff happen, so I'm kind of jittery. It's not a place I want to launch from. So enjoy some music. Going to come back. I'm going to chat a little bit more, and then I'm going to get into some Shunyamurti. Get a pencil and paper. Write down. Make it tangible. Physically manifest it from the receiving inspirational idea level to a level that you call stuff. Keith Blanchard and Lavender Soul. Music. Keith Blanchard's book, Homecoming. Keith Blanchard's children's book. Ian Scott. Your stuff, man. Make it your stuff. Make it real. But it will require clarity to become the dream weaver. Ooh, dream weaver. You have to become clear. The transition has to be smooth. How smooth are you being? Not with other people, but with yourself first. You gotta be smooth. You gotta be cool. You gotta be slick. You gotta want something. However you choose to get there. You can wait till the trolley comes back around. You can ride very easy. Or you could get to trekking up the mountain simply just because you like the journey. Simply because you like to hike. Hello, David. It's good to see you, bro. Send my love to the lady Carla. So tonight is Center of Light Download. The last installment, the first installment, was titled Center of Light Reboot. It's computer analogous. It's Center of Light Dream Workstation. Tonight is Download, Part 2. Do you have a workstation? You can create it however you choose. It can be an altar. Through that altar, everything is possible. You can disbelieve anywhere in your house, anywhere else in life. When you pass in front that consecrated, sacred altar, hi Carla, I felt you come in right where my heart opened. When you at least start here, create an altar in your house, and it will alter you. Call this place out here my okay to be my human self. That's a good start. But when you pass in front of that altar, you make sure that it is a living stream of consciousness and a vortex of fire, that when you pass by it, you have no choice but to acquire something higher, because you have so surrendered that you get burned in purity and the fire of worship. This is the gate of all possibilities. That could be your workstation. Put pictures of people you love, maybe a deity, no deity, your favorite books, something that makes you feel powerful. What is the real world and what is the dream world? Am I awake? I am. Am I sure? I am not. I'll see you shortly. Shunyamurti coming up. Let's see what we're going to play. How about some breathe? Breath is life. God is breath. God breathed life into man. Or woe man. Or a woe man. That's some silly knuckleheaded nonsense, isn't it? Not blaming anybody. Just the whole dance of the idiocy of even participating in something. I'll see you in a second. Peace, love.
Trust that I will guide you in whatever you do. Just remember to breathe and do your very best to live in love, give in love, be in love, and love you shall receive.
is nothing I need to know. All the wisdom's in my soul. All along I knew the way. Time has told me every day to breathe and expand myself, to know there is no one else but me and God who's in my heart. So I'll breathe and expand myself and know there is no one else but me and God. In my heart.
Welcome back to Center of Light. Tonight is Center of Light Download Dream Workstation, Part 2. Clarity happens for those who dream. Non-clarity happens to those who dream. Some people dream erroneously. Some people have nightmares. A nightmare doesn't require anyone to be asleep to have. Your nightmare is your life gone wrong on any level. No matter what the circumstance is. Yes, it pulls our heart into the experience because we care about ourselves, our loved ones, and our human family, as it should be. But beyond taking responsibility, even for the mess that we think that we have not created, is part of the sleep. Gives a whole new definition and meaning and purpose to what is truly awake. It hurts. I don't like hurting either. Regardless, or a word that doesn't exist at all, irregardless, it is purposeful. And its only intention is to awake you. Everything that happens to, through, for, with you is only for the sake of awaking you. Am I awake? I am. Are you sure? No, I'm not. Workstation. Mine is this computer futuristic layout. This is my altar, so to speak. It alters me when I sit in this chair. This $99 chair from Office Max serves me greatly. Create an altar in your house. It will alter you greatly. But when you pass in front this altar, don't sully the sacred. This is a gate of fire, divine fire. That everything is possible. You have this kind of graceful ambiance about you. See this whole thing, all this production, this is my altar. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm just an example of what it could be for you to find something that is so above anything else that in this realm of possibility, everything is possible. You got to give that to yourself or you will never reach the golden ring. What is the golden ring? Ironically, it's always out of your reach. So how am I supposed to ever get there? You don't. It's not meant for you to get there. That's the point. There is no there you need to get to. The there you need to get to is here. It may take from here to there to get to going back to here, but it's the removal of doubt, disbelief, and fear that always will keep you in nightmare. Always. And it's not doing it on purpose. It's doing it simply because it loves you. Guess who's the one wielding the lightsaber? It's you, Luke. It's you. I'm getting it. I'm integrating it. I'm beginning to express it. Many of you are. And I know exactly who you are. When you come in this room, I feel you. I'm hyper aware. I'm aware of my cat. I'm aware of the microphone. Everybody that's in the room. That's why I like acknowledging everyone. When I acknowledge everyone, I create these landmarks in my consciousness. Points. Kelly's here. Dana's here. Carla's here. David's here. So forth and so on. And so, because I bring this into my experience deliberately, my words are fashioned. I'm not doing this consciously. My words are fashioned simply to offer something that helps me. If anyone at all, it helps me. I sit here and regurgitate my heart. I want to play you some Shunyamurti, a new teacher that crossed my path a month or so ago. Wow. Hello, Ramona. Like I just did. I put her in the heart mix of what I love, everything that surrounds me and why I do what I do. I'm going to play you a video. It's going to take 30 minutes. Get a pencil and paper. One word. You don't have to write a whole... What did he say? You don't have to do all that. Everything you're trying to capture in the sentence you heard is in the one word that got you to listen. Whatever it is. You'll know. Write that one word. And when you go to review, you'll know exactly what it pertains to. Do you believe that? You don't have to fight it. I've already planted the seed, so there's no way you can hide it. It's going to just simply appear. It's going to be about 30 minutes long. There will not be 1 minute of this video that you will regret watching. What you can expect to see. I don't want to pigeonhole or limit you of what you're going to see. But one thing that you can use as a catalyst that for me is very apparent. If you look in my prop, my background, everything is a soft glow, amber, spiritual, nurturing. It's not blazing fire. which God is. It's like kind of a subdued level of a little more of a laziness versus this raw, divine, infinite fire, passion. It's kind of like sincerity. I get the rawness, but we're going to chill. You will see this all over this man. Hear what he's saying. Listen to what he's saying. Most importantly, don't do any of that either. Fall into the empty space of where he's coming from inside. And it will appear as if some aspect of you is beginning to awaken. It does me. He just reminds me of something that makes me go, thank you. I remember my home. My homecoming, crossing the bridge. That's the gate, the bridge to the soul, which is the Yah, the God, the fire, the passion. The Na is the mind when it's clear and balanced. And the Va is the backbone. You see the spine in the V, the Va in the backbone, the spine. I'm erect. I'm ready to get down and get busy. You can be in a wheelchair and have an erect, upright Va. It's beyond the dream. It's the reality. Shunyamurti. This is called, I want to find it. It's worthy of titling it. Life is a dream to redream. Let's get to redreaming.
Where are we? Are we in physical space right now? Or are we in the awareness of physical space? Are we physical creatures who happen to have consciousness of a physical material world? Or are we the awareness within which this world appears? We are free to see it either way, with no ability to prove which is the correct perspective. This is the perennial dispute between materialists and idealists. At the beginning of what we quaintly call the 20th century, in Western mainstream society, the materialists won. And they used the wedge of Darwinian evolutionary theory to edge out the social powers of religion. And they did this on behalf of capital and the materialist forces that were in control of the levers of society, which then were free to use the newly developing disciplines developed by a nephew of Freud, Edward Bernays, of public relations, propaganda, mind control, to re-engineer society in accord with those Darwinian principles of relativism and control by the fittest, however that is defined, which is defined by those who are in control, in order to change society to work for the elite. that control it. And it was necessary to remove religion because that was the last obstacle, because religion posits absolute a priori values, and they needed to be removed so that the value system of society could be changed at will in order to serve the particular interests of those who became an invisible hand that guided the further evolution of events in this world. And the Darwinians modified the earlier conception of the world produced by Sir Isaac Newton, that the world is a machine, somewhat like a clock, that God originally designed the clock, wound it up, and then left it to work itself out according to the principles that the clock was made of, and the watchmaker, as God was called quite often in those days, walked away and got involved in other things. And this opened the way, once people realized that God had lost all interest in us, even if he was there, to then modify it further and say, well, maybe there was no God who set this up at all, and this isn't really a machine at all, it's a random event. And everything that happens is purely by chance. And the word for randomness that Darwin used was that of natural selection. Now, a great scientist of the 20th century analyzed this concept of natural selection of Darwin's and said that the probabilities of the world as we experience it having been brought about by natural selection are approximately equivalent to that of a tornado going through a junkyard and putting everything together in the form of a Boeing 747, complete with pilots and gassed up and ready to fly. Now, if you believe that mythology, then good luck. But that's basically the likelihood of Darwinism being correct. Now, at approximately the same time, Einstein was discovering relativity in 1905, and shortly after that, the explosion of quantum physics by Max Planck, Niels Bohr, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, an extraordinary array of geniuses, completely changed our worldview and left Darwinism in the dust. But somehow that message did not get communicated to society because the educational system was still in the hands of those who wanted the doctrine of Darwinism to remain dominant. And so it's very unlikely that any of you have in the formal educational system studied the actual metaphysical implications of quantum physics. And most biologists, even today, do not study quantum physics and therefore do not realize that there are alternative explanations, much more probable. Now, one of the famous statements of Max Planck, who is the father of quantum physics, probably the greatest scientist, greater than Einstein, who ever lived, is that we can no longer think of the universe as a machine, as did Newton, or certainly not as some random event, but that the universe has to be, and is clearly from the evidence of quantum physics, structured as a dream. Now, this hit the scientists very hard. But it shouldn't have, because this has always been the way that the sages of every culture have considered the universe to be. I mean, even kids, I think they still sing Life is But a Dream. The famous Spanish playwright Calderón de la Barca, La vida es sueño, right? That was back in the 1600s. And you remember the famous monologue that sums it up in the middle of the play, if I can remember it. ¿Qué es la vida? Un frenesí. ¿Qué es la vida? Una ilusión, una sombra, una ficción. Y lo más grande bien es pequeño, que toda la vida es sueño. Y los sueños, sueños son. Our dreams are dreams within dreams. But then why is the world a frenzy? It's a frenzy because those beings within the dream are not in contact with the dreamer. Now, human beings within this structure of the dream have been designed in a very particular way, that we too have the freedom to dream. And our organisms are built in such a way as to maximize our freedom. We are, not, unlike the birds, not committed to a particular environment, unlike the snakes, unlike the hippopotami, unlike the bears. We can live in many different environments and we can create new environments. And through our power to dream, we can create new technologies. And we have sent humans to the moon. We have a robot on Mars taking pictures. Most of the pictures we don't get. They're kept secret, by the way. Most of the pictures from the International Space Station that is flying around the Earth as we speak. The only place where a Russian and an American are still friendly. Many things are seen that are not delivered to the general public, but the freedom of the human being to dream new ways of living, both for evil purposes and for good, is extraordinary. Now, if the dream theory of quantum physics is correct, and the unified quantum field that the physicists speak of is actually a field of intelligence, an ocean of intelligent awareness, out of which come waves of thought that then produce particles, and those particles come together according to the will of the dreamer, which then produces creatures who have dreams within dreams, and those dreams then lead to greater complexity and differentiation within the dream, and it becomes an extraordinary panorama of an infinite fractalized universe. And the dream has many, many levels to it, because there are dreaming intelligences at every level of the phenomenal and the transphenomenal levels of the universe. There are angelic levels. Those who have gone through near-death experiences come back to tell us about them. And there are many other realms to this infinitely complex dream. But there is a dreamer, a single intelligence, dreaming up the entirety of the dream that we call reality. Within the dream, at the level of this planet and this species, our situation has reached criticality, a situation in which we face extinction, in which none of the systems that have been imposed on society any longer function. And we face either collapse and mass extinction, or there needs to be a renewal of the dream. But even those who control society, who brought it to the impasse that it is now in, are themselves without any power to change the situation. They themselves are committed to the system, and the system is broken. And there are no more levers of power which can alter the trajectory of this little boat that's going over a huge waterfall at any moment. If there is any power at this moment to change our destiny from one of utter mass self-destruction to a renaissance and a new world of beauty and a new lease on life, it is through contacting the intelligence that is the dreamer of the dream. That quantum physics has proved must be here is the only power responsible, that could be responsible for this universe. It is now a scientific theory that there is an intelligent dreamer of this dream, not simply a religious mythology. And that understanding has not been communicated to the general public. But if that scientific theory is correct, and all the sages of history and every culture say that it is and have proven it, then we are capable of supernormal capacities if only we are in resonance with that power that is the dreamer of the dream, and let go of our identification with the creature who finds itself in the dream wondering what is going on. If we can shift our attention and the center of our consciousness from the belief that we are material creatures to the realization that we are the awareness co-creating the dream of this world of material creatures, then we will gain access to the power of redreaming the destiny of these creatures. And the only power we have for survival lies at that level of consciousness. And the only possibility for our own happiness lies at that level of consciousness. And let go. Now, it was this realization that began to move Carl Jung away from Freudianism. And what he discovered in his work as a psychiatrist at a very well-known asylum in Switzerland, the Burgholzli Institute, was that the psychotic patients that he was dealing with, in their delusional hallucinations, were actually talking about what he recognized as archetypes. He recognized that they were reenacting mythologies that they had never read about and had no clue about, but that were being emitted as signs through their minds, which had lost touch with the normal indoctrinated world of the ego. They were not able to make sense of their own words, of their own discourse, of their own drawings, of their own delusions. But where did they come from, Jung wondered? What are they tapping into without having any clue? Is it possible that they're tapping into that same level of the Akashic records as it's known in the East, or as Plato called it, the realm of forms or ideas? And that this realm, this noosphere, as Teilhard de Chardin, a paleontologist and Roman Catholic priest, spoke about it, that this realm is actually governing what occurs on this phenomenal plane. And Jung became obsessed with understanding this archetypal dimension. But what he came to realize at a certain point is that these archetypal thoughts, although they're universal rather than particular thoughts, still require a thinker, that he did not get to the ultimate realm. He did not get far enough. And so he took a trip to India to meet Ramana Maharshi, the man in the giant photograph up there. But the day he was scheduled to meet him, Jung got cold feet. He couldn't face Ramana because he knew that the moment he looked into Ramana's eyes, he would meet the dreamer, and his dream of Jungian psychology would dissolve instantly. He would become irrelevant, and his own ego wouldn't permit him to have that confrontation. It was an extraordinary moment that determined the trajectory of Western culture. And East and West could not come together. A fatal moment. But a moment that Jung later reflected upon in his autobiography. And he said that his ego structure did not have the assignment to go beyond the Platonic realm. And he had a very important dream, that there was a yogi in a cave who was dreaming up Carl Jung. And when that yogi awoke, Carl Jung would die. And that what needed to happen was for Carl Jung to awaken while the yogi was still asleep and dreaming him and become the yogi, and then he could save the world. But he could not manage to wake up. And the same question that Carl Jung faced and that he failed to be able to resolve during his life, which is the sleep of the dreamer, is can you awaken to the dreamer of the dream who is within you at this very moment and awaken to your own power to redream this world as a heaven rather than a hell. Do you have the courage? Do you have the will? Do you have the love to propel you to awaken from your own dream of life and realize the truth that you are the dreamer? This is the real question we all face. And once we know where we are, we can then finally know who we are. And once we know who we are, we can change everything that is to reflect the goodness, the love, the joy, the wisdom, the beauty of the dreamer, of the benevolent God, who the dreamies can no longer believe in or connect with, but who is dreaming us with this one possibility of breaking through and becoming lucid in our dream and achieving what religion calls salvation. The saving from the suffering of what has become an evil, disastrous nightmare to once again becoming a dream of love and happiness. Each one of us has the power to break through the sleep of the ego and awaken to the power of redreaming our world, which is only a dream. But we must recognize that we are not these petty physical organisms who are helpless in the face of vast powers, but that we ourselves are the most vast power imaginable. And stop acting like victims and attain victory over the delusion that you are a creature, and realize the power of the Creator, who sleeps within your heart. This is the one question that we have very little time to answer before this video game is up and over. But victory can still be attained at the very last moment if we awaken. And I hope those of our visitors who have taken to heart what you have learned here will continue to reflect upon this matter and to take seriously that you have the power to change not only your own life for the good, but life itself, because we are all connected. Quantum physics has proven that as well. We are entangled in a super dream of which each of us is dreaming tiny fractal fragments, but they all fit together into a single whole. And the most coherent level of intelligence rules. The level of intelligence that is the most benevolent, the most all-inclusive and all-encompassing and pervasive, that has the most beauty, that has the most love, the most wisdom. That signal will overcome the noise of all the lower levels of chaotic consciousness and enable the dream signal to be carried by all the transceivers within the dream, so that the redreaming happens in resonance of every dreamer who is present as a node of consciousness within the dream. This is the ancient metaphor of the net of Indra, and a very important cosmological theory that has also been proven to be accurate by quantum physics. We have great potential, but the potential does not lie with money, it does not lie with military power, it does not lie with the internet, it does not lie with any technology. It's the psychotechnology of consciousness itself that must be reactivated from its atrophied and dormant state, so that the true lever of power can be utilized to transform our world. May we all have the wisdom and the courage and the integrity to use our intelligence and our love in the service of the most beautiful redreaming of this dream imaginable to our hearts. And know this, that whoever surrenders to that dreamer and says, I need your grace, dreamer, I cannot do it alone, it is that act of surrender that brings the power. If that act alone is wholehearted, the unity, the reunification, the yoga between the dreamer, the sat, and the dreamy is attained. The critical number of those who achieve realization in order to make this transformation a reality is not that large. It's the quality of consciousness, not the quantity of people, because it's one intelligence. And it will emanate and disseminate quickly, instantaneously, faster than the internet, because thought is infinitely rapid. It will disseminate at a certain moment when people have given up the illusion that they have control and they are entirely in despair. And there will be a return to belief in God, because there are no atheists in foxholes, and there will be no atheists at that moment when we have entirely lost hope. And it's at that moment that the thought that awakens all will enter into the brain matter of every conscious human being. And at that last moment, the dream can still be redreamed. But there have to be enough transmitters operating at that point to be able to get the message received by every lost soul seeking the light. May we be part of those transmitting agencies who bring the good news of the quantum wave of redemption to our suffering planet. I wish you all blessings on the awakening, the illumination, and the liberation of your true self. Namaste.
Namaste.
How effortless, beautifully, poetically laid out, laid in was that. 30 minutes of consistent, unbroken flow, bliss. The man is simply connected. What is the dream? What is reality? Tonight is Center of Light Download, Dream Workstation Part 2. The first installment a few nights ago. If you want to find it, scroll on my Facebook. We're all about however far you'll see it. Or go to YouTube on my channel, which is youtube.com/Center of Light Radio. It'll be right there. That was Center of Light Reboot Yourself Up. And using these computer analogies. Reboot. Get rid of the nonsense, shake your head off, shrug yourself the nonsense off, reboot. So tonight was download. I'm interested in connecting to the great universal infinite dreamer itself, so I can hopefully wake up only to dream even more and grander possibilities of what we call life. Homecoming. We all want to go home. You can go on vacation to Hawaii, 2 or 3 days, the place you tried to escape from home, just to have some vacay, have some cray-cray. Some part of you longs for home. It's almost like, why can't you or your home have Hawaii or whatever with it? That's kind of the point. It's a double-edged sword. It's doubly beautiful, doubly powerful. So, from homecoming, crossing the bridge to the soul, tonight is Center of Light Download. This is the Dream Workstation. I ask Spirit, does everyone dream when they sleep? Spirit says yes. But why doesn't everyone remember their dreams? Spirit continues, because many do not like what they see when they dream, so they subconsciously shut themselves off from remembering them. And I ask, what's the difference between an out-of-body journey and a dream? You must understand that there is no such thing as out of body. And I say or ask, but what about in death? The soul does not leave the body leaves the soul. Or said another way, the body is no longer animated, at least in the time frame of that person's life. However, the reality of that person's past remains active in the universe, and so does his or her body. So no one really ever dies. What happens in an out-of-body experience or in death is that one's consciousness shifts to another dimension of spirit. This is what creates the sensation of movement or flying. In either case, you really don't go anywhere except deeper within. Because the soul is everywhere in everything. The difference between an out-of-body experience and a dream is that one is an experience of another aspect of the soul, and the other is an experience of the mind and its many ideas. And I asked the question, does everyone have out-of-body jaunts nightly? You all go somewhere else to learn more about yourselves and the universe, but not everyone remembers these trips. And I ask, why not? Is it for the same reason that people don't remember their dreams? It's because what happened while they were out there wasn't pleasant, and Spirit says not always. And I say, I don't understand. If they had a good experience, why wouldn't they want to remember it? Good question. A person has to pass through their mind before they can get back to their body. That is where things get a bit twisted, and that is why they dream scary dreams. And I say, I see there is mental confusion. And Spirit responds, yes, but for good reason. When someone's consciousness returns to their body, they must paint pictures to explain what they have just experienced on the journey. This is not an easy task when nothing in their mind represents anything they may have experienced while they were out. To many people, that is downright frightening. And I say, I can see so much of myself in that explanation. That's good, Keith. Take it all in and do the work that is required to free yourself from your fears so that you may be truly awake. And I ask the question, what does it mean to be truly awake? The Spirit responds, you are spiritually awake when you no longer need to fall asleep to experience the soul. And once you are illuminated, you will not experience a loss of awareness during the time your body needs to rest. I ask, is there a difference between enlightenment and being awake? Enlightenment is the process of awakening. Awake is the constant awareness that happens as a result of any true understanding. Once you realize something, it can never be unrealized, for it is impossible to do away with what you know. Your ongoing expansion just keeps on going. Well, what will happen after I awaken? Phenomenal question. Like I said earlier, am I awake? I am. Are you sure? No, I am not. And I ask, what will happen after I awaken? And something says to look at Kundalini. She says, awake, dream, it's the same thing. So I ask Spirit, what will happen after I awaken? And Spirit says, you will find yourself in another reality, another dream that will continue until you graduate to dreamer status, God realization. And I say, fervently ask, you mean there's more to do after I awaken? I am going to leave you with this powerful response. I ask Spirit, you mean there is more to do after I awaken? And Spirit says, as I have said before, my reality is for those who really want it. Yes, the road is a long one and it will take time, but that road will eventually lead you to eternity. And when you get there, you are loved beyond measure. All of your struggles will be forgotten. What is truly awake and what is truly a dream? Are they the same? It seems to me they are. It's about navigating yourself, being with yourself in such a way that you understand the path has nothing to do with anything but you illuminating it for yourself. Do you see trouble? Seeing trouble could be a sign of understanding. Something showing me to protect me, a guide. There's trouble. But are you seeing trouble? You want trouble. I mean, do you doubt? Do you fear? Do you disbelieve? And no matter, even in your disbelief, it's true. You are right. Or you're not. How is your experience playing out for you? As the way you deem it to be, isn't it? What other way is there? And the next day or so, I'm going to do part 3. This 3 installment, which is Dream Workstation. A few nights ago, I did Dream Workstation, part number 1, which is Center of Light Reboot. You got to reboot. You got to get rid of the nonsense from the beginning of your life, the beginning of eons of your lives, to this moment to say, I'm done. I just sort of got to reboot into nothing. Clean slate. I wiped my hard drive clean. It's clean. Reboot. Tonight was, now that I'm purely rebooted, I have an intention to download. Tonight is Center of Light, download. My next presentation in this 3 installment series, Dream Workstation, you got to want something. You have to create a graceful ambiance. Something that might look like this. Go into meditation and create it your own way, but this would be a representation of mine. A place where I just simply sit all day in my shrine on my heart, where I intend. An altar will do it. It will alter you. Do it. So my next presentation in this 3 installment series is going to be Center of Light, upgrade / execute. This file that you have downloaded. You can bet your sweet Bippy, Shunyamurti, is going to be presenting his darshan, which means the blessing of a holy man. What is dream? What is reality? What is hell? What is principality? Is it morality? Normality? Where do we find ourselves in all these tiers? Levels as in a tier, but also all these tiers as in levels that brought us into tiers. You don't find yourself in that. These are just games we are playing. Are you playing the game fairly and correctly? You can cheat all you want, but karma will come back and kiss you on your face. So the objective to win the game of life is to understand the most important piece, P-I-E-C-E, P-E-A-C-E, the most important piece of life. So what would that be? Go look in the mirror. You sexy, beautiful human creature. You love beyond measure.